Welcome, welcome to my garden. As I sit here in my rocking chair, overlooking my garden, I stop to think of why I have made the changes that I am making. I'm redesigning it for me because I'm getting older, and one of my friends reminded me of how I started this garden. I actually started this garden using plastic shoe boxes. We sit and we laugh about how I planted my first vegetable with no holes for drainage. I've learned many things with this small space garden, using stackables because I don't have the room to use some of those bigger products that would make things grow bigger. But they grow just big enough for me. So as you know, I have planted some collards. I love collards. There's some more. I'm going to be planting my romaine lettuce in this container. More collards. There are my beautiful strawberries. I'm going to get some more strawberries to place in this container. Now recently, I planted spinach, and I drew out how I wanted my spinach to grow. So I want to show you that in this row, I have the Savoy spinach, that Bloomsdale. Look, they're already germinating. In here, I wanted to have radishes. So if you look, there's my radish. There's my radish. So I planted this so that one row was spinach, one row was radish, spinach, radish, and spinach. And I put a little row in the back of zinnias. The germination was quick, really fast, because see, 8:31. Now, over here, I planted some okra. You know, here's my okra coming out. It was the Clemson. I did it kind of late because the okra that I was growing wasn't producing, so I said, let me drop some more seeds. Here's a marigold. And of course, I still have my Black Mission fig. I'm always checking to see how she's doing. Right now I have dirt on this leaf, so I need to clean it off. I haven't decided what I'm going to plant in here yet. I really don't do very well in planting and growing rosemary, so I just keep buying new rosemary. Back here, I am growing the bell pepper. And I started late this year because I was trying to figure out the design that I wanted for me. I will be planting more lettuce in here. And of course, I planted the cauliflower in here. I planted the purple Sicily. And by the time it starts to really grow, I figured that the contender, which is not doing very well, I will remove it. I'll probably remove this little okra that didn't do very well. And as this starts to die off, I'll just drop some of this seeds into the soil and let it come back. Now over here, I planted some of the chives, and I have some Swiss chard And I planted that red ace cabbage, and it will eventually take up this whole container. Back in this one is where I have my contender bush bean. Let's see. And I have a contender here. And these are some of my collards. I've been thinning them out and checking the leaves to make sure that I don't have any aphids. This is another one of the Swiss chard. Oh, and my broccoli. This is the broccoli. I didn't stake her up, so she's growing kind of, crooked. But look, she's healthy and strong. My leaves are clean. No aphids or anything at this time. This one has a lot in it. Sometimes I just get carried away. I didn't used to, but I do now. These are some of my flowers. I'm not quite sure what I planted here, but this is that Cosmos. Here is my Cherokee wax bean, and as you can see, she's loaded too. Here's another one. She's got a lot of growth on her too. Again, that beautiful Cosmos. And she's got some more buds on it. I didn't know that they would grow more than one on the same stem, but there she is. All right. And I planted those sweet potatoes. These are not the traditional sweet potatoes. They are the Puerto Rico sweet potatoes. It says that I planted them on 5/20/25. So I'm gonna have to count my days and see if they're ready. I don't know. I remember pulling them up because I was curious, like, what do they look like? Well, I'm gonna find out real soon. I dropped some kale in here with these, so I'll be thinning them out. I may even pull them out and transplant. I don't normally transplant, but this year I'm transplanting things to different areas. So in order to pull out the sweet potatoes, I'll probably have to transplant those. All right. In here, I planted more beets. I planted on 8/9 the Detroit dark red beets. And I think I have one coming up right there. And it looks like I have one probably over there. I planted marigolds along the side. That might be a marigold because I did a line down here. Here are some of the red Russian kale. See, you can tell by the stem. Some more of the red Russian kale. What I do a lot of times is I'll just draw a line and I drop my seeds in there. Back here, I transplanted this morning some ruby red Swiss chard that I planted on July the 9th in another container. But because I'm redesigning my garden, I had to move a lot of the things that were growing. And this is too early to tell, but I transplanted them first thing this morning. And there's my geranium from my friend. And you know what's so funny? Is they just keep flowering. I just always have these red flowers just about all year with these geraniums. Now in here, I planted a lot. I have back here in the back, I just planted it on the 1st. I planted the mustard, the Indian Florida mustard. I put one or two right here in this corner. And I did that because these mustards were suffering. I had transplanted them from a smaller container into this one. And I figured I better do something, because if these don't make it, I want to make sure. I've also planted back here in the corner a patio pride pea. And if necessary, I believe I'm going to start stringing either some wire or some type of trellis across this area. I don't want to block it because I need as much sun as I can get. So I'm working on that one. Here are some more of those sweet potatoes. I have a zinnia in here. I transplanted her, and she doesn't look bad today. I originally planted her on July the 9th. So it's about time for her to flower. And I transplanted her, so it may take her a little bit longer. I also transplanted this flower. Let's see, what is it? This is a marigold, so I'm gonna put it right there. All right, this is my latest. It looks like I was getting ready to plant something here this morning. Okay, I transplanted this morning. This is a marigold. And I planted my broccoli. My son loves broccoli, so I usually try to plant at least 8 or 9 broccolis throughout my garden. So what I did was I drew a line and I put them in here. As you can see, here is the green calabrese and the Cisco and the green calabrese. I believe I always planted the bush bean in here, and I ate off of it quite a bit this winter. I'm pulling it up because I'm getting ready to plant something new in there. So we'll work on that later on today. I planted watercress out here. I'm going to work on this one too because it is growing and the leaves are getting very big. So I need to pay attention to it and figure out how to get it to grow its best. And of course, here is my Blue Lake bush bean. And I wanted you all to see, these really are large enough. I've got 2 right here that are large enough to harvest. I will harvest them later on today and put them in a salad, because the sooner that I harvest these, the more that it will produce. So I need to get them off so that this plant will say, oh, I need to make more. And over here you see I have another one that is starting to produce. I planted a zinnia in there. I planted marigolds in here. Now I started off with these collards and the container was really too small. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to transplant them or not, but I may, because the others are doing okay. I have sweet potatoes. I did try to plant squash with it, but it never came up. I did some corn and I ended up pulling them up because they were too small. And I'm working now to save my Meyer lemon. I've transplanted it twice, so it may be time for me to transplant it into a bigger pot. But it's doing pretty good. Here is my fruit area. This used to have a strawberry row, but I moved it because this year the strawberries didn't do very well in this area. That's why I moved it and became really concerned about how do I continue to get my plants to grow. And that brought about the whole idea of redesigning my garden. I planted my let's see, these are cucumbers, and I usually wouldn't say it by the leaves, but I'm trying to make sure I don't have any aphids or any bugs. So I have 1, 2, 3. I want to grow my collard trees again, the purple ones. So I planted one here, one in the middle, and one over here. So when I take the cucumbers out, hopefully the collard trees will begin to grow. And I showed you my tomato. This tomato plant is, I'm not quite sure. It's blossoming. It's got tomatoes on it. It requires a lot of water. So one of the things that you notice is that I have gone back to my larger containers, except for the strawberries. Here's my basil. Here's my lacinato kale. It's over 2 years old. There was a worm on it for the first time, so I'm kind of babying it right now. And I layered, hopefully I won't kill it, but I layered the basil on there because I needed it to be close to that tomato. All right, that has been a little tour, and my grocery store gave me potatoes. So you've seen me plant potatoes before. I'm going to plant those potatoes in this container later on today. And I was looking in my kitchen, and if you remember, I saved those little bitty potatoes. This is my red ones. I love the red ones. And this looks like a white one. Look at that. I'm going to put them in here too. So later on today, I will plant those potatoes. I want to encourage you to plant. Oh, my children across the street. I have a Catholic school over there, and they're out for their break. This morning, I decided to harvest this beet. I'm going to use the leaves and stir fry something with it later on for my lunch. I pulled it up this morning because this had already come up out of the ground, and the only thing left in there was the roots. And it was always needing more and more water. I try to set up my garden so that I don't have to water every day. But with this heat, it became very important to go back to the larger ones. I watered yesterday, and see, the germination is here. The germination is there. You can grow food quickly. Yes, you can. And you can grow enough at least for you and your family. It's all in the planning. Look at all those seeds. Those were my romaine lettuce. I had lots and lots of romaine lettuce. I'm planting them again because they were successful. So check and see what grows really well for me. And I like to eat it too. And those are the things that you plant. Amazing. It's amazing how God works. Remember the garden. That's where he placed Adam and Eve, in the garden. And then they were to till the land. And I was reading in Proverbs where tilling the land, you will have food to eat. Tilling the soil, you will have food to eat. So take a container and plant you some food so that you have food to eat. God bless. God loves you. And I do too. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.